Abbas Araghchi is no longer just Iran's foreign minister. He is becoming a symbol, a man who stepped into one of the most dangerous moments in modern Middle Eastern history and turned diplomacy into a weapon of perception. His rise did not happen because he shouted louder than everyone else. It happened because he stayed calm when the world expected fear. When Western media asked him about the possibility of American ground troops entering Iran, his answer was short, cold, and unforgettable. "We are waiting for them." That sentence traveled across the world because it did not sound like panic. It sounded like certainty. It told the audience that Iran was not begging, not collapsing, not trembling, and not performing fear for Western cameras. It told the world that behind the suit of a diplomat stood a state that believed it had already accepted the cost of confrontation. That is why Araghchi is rising. Not because he is loud, because he is controlled. And in a world full of nervous leaders, control can look more dangerous than rage. For decades, diplomacy was associated with soft language, careful smiles, and phrases designed to reveal almost nothing. But Araghchi represents a different kind of diplomat. He is not the diplomat of comfort. He is the diplomat of crisis. He speaks from inside a nation that believes it has been cornered by sanctions, assassinations, threats, airstrikes, and decades of pressure. Whether people agree with Iran or not, they can feel the force behind that position. Araghchi has become one of the clearest voices translating that position to the world. His rise is not random. He is not a social media accident. He is the product of a system that trained him for exactly this kind of moment. He studied international relations. He studied political science. He earned a doctorate in political thought in England, focusing on Islamic political thinking and participation. That matters because Araghchi is not just a man who memorized diplomatic language. He studied how power explains itself, how legitimacy is built, and how religion, state, and public authority can fuse into one political structure. That makes him different from the average foreign minister. He understands Western language. He understands Islamic political thought. He understands sanctions. He understands negotiations. He understands humiliation. And most importantly, he understands perception. This is the secret of his rise. Araghchi understands that a sentence can become a weapon. A calm answer can become a missile in the media war. A controlled face can communicate strength to millions without firing a shot. When he says, "We are waiting for them," he is not only speaking to America, he is speaking to Iran, to the region, and to every country watching the conflict and asking whether Iran will break under pressure. The message is simple. Iran will not perform weakness. That is why the line spread. Western media expected the question to corner him. It was supposed to create hesitation. It was supposed to make Iran look nervous. Instead, Araghchi turned the question back on the room. He did not just answer. He changed the energy. That is psychological diplomacy. And that is why he is becoming a global figure. People are tired of scripted politicians. They are tired of leaders who sound like press releases. They are tired of powerful people hiding fear behind vocabulary. Araghchi's appeal comes from the fact that he speaks like a man who knows the room is hostile and still refuses to shrink. Not everyone supports him. Not everyone agrees with Iran, but people recognize strength when they see it. And recognition is the first step toward iconic status. His background explains why he can play this role. Araghchi spent decades inside the most sensitive layers of Iranian foreign policy. He served as ambassador. He worked through the foreign ministry. He became one of the important Iranian figures connected to the nuclear negotiations that led to the 2015 agreement. That experience shaped him. The nuclear issue was never only about technology. It was about sovereignty. It was about whether Iran had the right to develop power on its own terms, or whether the global order would decide what Iran was allowed to become. In those rooms, Araghchi learned that diplomacy is not a peaceful space. It is a battlefield with softer weapons. Every word matters. Every pause matters. Every public statement matters. Every rumor matters. Every image matters. And now, in the current crisis, this matters more than ever. Because Araghchi is no longer negotiating in normal conditions. He is operating in a world where diplomacy and assassination reports now exist in the same sentence. Recent reports claimed that American officials warned Iran that Israel might try to assassinate top Iranian negotiators, including Araghchi and other senior figures. Israel denied those claims, but the effect was already created. The world heard the possibility, and the symbolism became explosive. Because if a diplomat becomes important enough to be targeted, then he is no longer only a diplomat. He becomes a strategic object. He becomes a man whose survival matters. And this changes the meaning of his role. If enemies pressure Araghchi, he becomes stronger. If they threaten him, he becomes more symbolic. If they try to silence him, they risk turning him into something far more powerful than a minister. A living proof that even diplomacy itself is under attack. That is the paradox. The more dangerous his position becomes, the more powerful his image becomes. This is how wartime symbols are made. Not through comfort, through pressure. And Araghchi is built for pressure. He does not look like a battlefield commander. He does not speak like a street revolutionary. He does not need to scream. That is exactly why he works. His power is in restraint. People see him sitting across from journalists and foreign officials, surrounded by hostile narratives. And he does not appear confused. He appears prepared. His face gives away little. His answers are sharp but controlled. He knows the clip will travel. He knows the line will be cut, shared, translated, attacked, defended, and turned into perception. This is modern power. Not only armies, not only oil, not only missiles. Narrative. And Araghchi is becoming one of Iran's strongest narrative weapons. His rise also reveals something deeper about the current global moment. The old Western monopoly over interpretation is weakening. People now watch clips for themselves. They compare narratives. They notice who looks nervous and who looks composed. They see who avoids questions and who absorbs pressure. This is where Araghchi benefits. He does not need everyone to support Iran. He only needs people to see that Iran is not as weak, irrational, or isolated as they were told. That alone shifts perception. And once perception shifts, diplomacy shifts with it. For years, the dominant image of Iran in Western media was simple: dangerous, irrational, isolated, aggressive. But figures like Araghchi complicate that image. He is educated, experienced, fluent in the language of statecraft, familiar with Europe, familiar with America, familiar with the mechanics of sanctions and negotiations. He can enter Western spaces without becoming Western. He can use Western concepts without surrendering Iranian logic. He can speak to the world while remaining loyal to Tehran's worldview. That is what makes him effective. Labels like moderate or hardliner are too simple for him. Araghchi is better understood as a system-loyal professional with tactical flexibility. He can negotiate without looking weak. He can be calm without being soft. He can speak about diplomacy while making it clear that Iran is ready for war if war is forced upon it. That combination is rare, and rare combinations create attention. His religious and ideological background also matters. Araghchi is not a cleric, but he comes from a political culture where religion and state are deeply connected. The title Sayyid carries weight in Shah culture, suggesting lineage connected to the Prophet's family. In Iran, that kind of identity can carry respect, moral association, and symbolic legitimacy. His worldview is shaped by the Islamic Republic's central belief: sovereignty is sacred, resistance is necessary, and foreign domination must be rejected. That does not mean he speaks like a preacher. He speaks like a diplomat formed by a revolutionary state. When he defends Iran, he is not only defending policy, he is defending a story of revolution, a story of war, a story of sanctions, a story of survival, a story of a country that believes it has been punished for refusing to bow. This is why his words hit differently inside Iran. To foreign audiences, "We are waiting for them" may sound confrontational. To many Iranians, it sounds like dignity. It sounds like a nation saying, "If war is forced upon us, we will not run." That is the emotional core of his popularity. Not policy, dignity. People rally around figures who make them feel their nation still has a spine. And Araghchi, in this moment, gives that feeling. The question now is whether his rise will remain symbolic or become historic. Many figures become famous for one line. Few become important beyond the moment. The test for Araghchi is whether his clarity can survive consequences. If Iran gains leverage, he becomes the face of strategic endurance. If Iran suffers deeper isolation, critics will call him the voice of escalation. If diplomacy returns, he may be remembered as the man who held the line long enough to negotiate from strength. But right now, his role is clear. He is becoming Iran's diplomatic shield. The man who tells the world that Iran can speak for itself. The man who turns hostile questions into viral moments. The man whose calmness makes threats look weaker. The man whose possible targeting only increases his symbolic power. That is why Abbas Araghchi is rising. Not because he is loved by everyone, because he is recognized by everyone. Not because he avoids conflict, because he enters conflict with the face of a man who has already accepted the consequences. In a world of scripted politics, people are searching for voices that feel real. In a world where diplomacy is becoming war by another method, Abbas Araghchi has become one of the clearest examples of the new age. A diplomat who no longer belongs only to conference rooms. A negotiator who became a symbol. A foreign minister who turned one sentence into global perception. And perhaps the most important thing is this: if his enemies try to silence him, they may only make him louder. Because some figures do not become icons through promotion. They become icons when history puts pressure on them and they refuse to bend. That is the blueprint of Abbas Araghchi, the calm voice inside the storm, the diplomat who speaks while the world hesitates, the man Iran sends when the room is hostile, and the figure the world is now forced to watch.